Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Thunderous review. Today I'm going to be taking a shot at Injustice: Gods Among Us. While it has been generally praised as a quality fighting game, I've found it to be significantly lacking in several areas. When the game was announced, its creator Ed Boon of NetherRealm Studios stated that his goal was to create a game outside of the Mortal Kombat series that was dramatically different within the fighting game genre. While Boon may have gotten his wish, it may not have been for the best. While some of this game's intended charm manages to stand out, most of it is marred by what I'll describe as a hypeless ambience. What do I mean by this? Well, it's better if I just show you. So let's get this review rolling, shall we? Just as always, I'll split this review into 5 segments: story, gameplay, visuals, sound, and replayability.
Now, if there are no further interruptions...
This game is definitely a callback to the old 90s cartoons like Justice League. Everything from dialogue to cutscenes, hell, they even ripped off one of the episodes of Justice League for the story. I'm serious, if you don't believe me, go look up Justice League: A Better World and see if you can't find any similarities. Go on, go. I'll wait here. You see what I mean? Forget about it. For those of you who didn't go watch the episode, the story is basically an alternate version of Superman goes nuts and takes over the world. So an alternate version of Batman summons heroes from the regular universe to try and stop him. Now, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the story mode in this game. I think it's really cool that this game even has a story mode, a feature that most fighting games today lacks something fierce.
Alright then. Operation Thunder, Eagle, Lightning, whatever, is underway.
For the most part, I found the story to be very well written, with lots of witty dialogue and interesting plot features. I also really appreciate how NetherRealm kept most of the characters true to their intended nature, with a few exceptions, namely the Flash, who has basically no personality until about halfway through the game, and Hawkgirl, who's just kinda there. It seems like they were trying so hard to cram as many characters as they could into the story mode that they kinda forgot about actually characterizing some of them.
Alright, moving on.
While I enjoyed the story in general, there were a few elements that just didn't make sense to me. Firstly, a Superman pill? Seriously? I call bullshit.
You're a funny guy.
Secondly, the Joker's acquisition of a nuke in the alternate timeline. In the story, it's explained that Lex Luthor, the one who gave him the nuke in the main timeline, is not a villain in the alternate timeline. So how in the world did the Joker manage to lay his hands on a nuclear weapon in the alternate universe? Lastly, why is Batman not prepared to take down every member of the Justice League like he's supposed to? Oh well, it is what it is, so I'll let this beast lie for now, but back to the point. Where do I rank this superhero story mode? I'd be happy to give this story mode 7 out of 10. Moving on, let's talk about some gameplay. I found the basics of this game very easy to pick up. Light attacks, heavy attacks, special attacks, the usual stuff. What I found very strange about the game was how combos actually worked. In most fighting games, you press a button and you get an attack. If you press buttons with certain timing, you get a combo. In Injustice, you have to input the button commands for the entire combo, including special moves, very quickly at the beginning of a combo in order for it to be executed afterwards. It's kind of hard to explain. Comparatively, it's similar to how other fighting games work online. You press a button and the game cues it to be executed later, rather than immediately. Now, before anyone says anything about how my TV is to blame, or anything like that, I tested every other fighting game that I have, and they all worked perfectly. To make things even stranger, I found a few of the characters' hitboxes to be, well, downright ridiculous. I mean, look at this! Look at it! The next thing to mention is the wager system.
You'll have to kill me.
Tempting.
The wager system. The wager system allows you to put up a certain amount of your special meter against your opponents, and whoever puts up more wins the wager, which results in extra damage or regained health for one side. Now, I know they were going for some cool and interesting breakout mechanic with this, but it really just ends up being more of a nuisance than anything. More often than not, this ends up being a very one-sided mechanic and can be extremely frustrating if you're in the middle of a good combo. The last thing to mention about gameplay is how it tries to incorporate the stages into the battle with stage interactables. To me, this feels more like fluff than anything else, and I really actually wish it just weren't in the game at all, especially since a lot of the stage interactables take up a large portion of the screen when used, and they are completely unblockable. Oh my god, this is the most frustrating shit ever. If you're willing to put in the time, this game can actually end up being pretty fun. But to me, it just doesn't stand out as anything special. And it's for that reason that I'll give gameplay a 5 out of 10. Now, if there's anything that really kills this game for me, it's the visuals. The best way I can describe the visual style of this game is gray with a side of gray and a bit of extra gray on the side.
It's supposed to be dark and edgy to match the style of the story.
Objection!
I don't care what it's going for, it's boring! It's like they deliberately said, how can we make this game as uninteresting to look at as possible? I know, turn down the color saturation by 90%, that's what we need. No, that just makes it extremely boring to look at. Just look at how much more interesting this game looks if I bump up the saturation just a little bit. It honestly amazes me that they looked at these visuals and said, yeah, that'll do. So visual style's not getting any points in my book. Now, let's take a look at the character models. For the most part, the character models look pretty good. They've done a good job of transitioning the characters from 2D to... Oh, sweet Jesus, take it away! Oh, God, my retinas! Oh, never mind. That was the worst thing I've ever... Ah! I was wrong! I was horribly wrong! Oh, God! Oh, God, why? Well, the character models are pretty good for the most part. I also have a problem with some of the costumes. They just look ridiculous. Again, the terrible visual style rears its ugly head. Now, let's look at the stages and backdrops. The combat stages are actually very well done. I'm certain that this is the area they spent a lot of time on. Needless to say, the stages are interesting and they look great. If only the same could be said for the rest of the game.
Oh, shit.
Onward to animation. It doesn't take long to see a problem here. The basic character poses look goofy and unnatural and almost downright painful sometimes. Look at this. Batman doesn't stand like this. What the hell is this? Superman is not amused. The fighting animations aren't much better. The character movements look unnatural and are completely lacking in any kind of timing or weight to them. To me, it seems like the developers were trying to make the moves look really flashy and extensive, but it just comes off looking silly. So, to wrap up the visuals section, stages look good. Everything else, not so much. This earns the visuals a rather lackluster 3 out of 10. Next up, let's go over the music. The music works very well for the cutscenes in the story, giving it that old-school cartoon feel I was talking about earlier. Unfortunately, it is significantly less effective in the fights. The pacing and style of the music does not go well with this style of game at all. You could take the music from literally any other game and use it here, and it would work more effectively. Oh, time to make good on what I said in my Metal Gear Rising review. Much better. Next up is voice acting.
Easy there, tough guy.
A lot of the voice acting in this game is really good. They managed to get a lot of the voice actors from, guess what? Justice League.
Superman, we've broken their ranks. They're retreating.
Good. Once they're pushed back, we'll need help with rescue and recovery.
They all do a great job, and it fits perfectly, except, you know, Phil Lamar as Aquaman.
Who do you work for, usurper? Manta? Ocean Master?
I'm the King of Atlantis.
Not sure who made that call, but whatever. The only part of the voice acting I dislike are a few select battle cries, but that doesn't have so much to do with the voices, more so to do with how the actors were directed. Finally, sound effects. There's really not much to be said here. Everything sounds as it should. Punches sound punchy, explosions are explosion-y. There's nothing wrong with them, and there's nothing special about them, which pretty much reflects the sound section in general. So when it's all said and done, I'll give sound a score of 4 out of 10. On to the last section of the review, replayability. The story is a great way to spend your first few hours, but once you finish it, there's really not much of a reason to go back. However, this game does come packed with a solid and satisfying offline and online modes that are sure to keep you playing for hours to come. And if that's not enough, there's the Stars Lab, where you can spend countless hours clearing challenges and learning the large roster of fighters. So with all of this in mind, replayability earns itself a nice 7 out of 10. In the end, there's really nothing special about Injustice. It does just enough to separate itself from Mortal Kombat, but beyond that, I feel there's really nothing extraordinary about it. If you're a fan of DC, then you'll definitely find some good satisfaction in this game. If you're just an average Joe looking for a good fighting game, I won't say that you shouldn't play this game, but to me there are definitely more worthy candidates. I feel that Ed Boon hit his mark of creating a dramatically different fighting game, but if anything, this just goes to show that different doesn't always mean exceptional.
Bite your tongue.
Neither outstandingly good nor outrageously awful, with the scores averaged together, I give Injustice, Gods Among Us, an unremarkably even 5 out of 10. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you enjoyed it, like and or subscribe. Until next time, I'm Victor, and this has been another Thunderous Review.